Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Intro to Web Development. I'm your host, Creative Builds. In the last episode, we focused heavily on JavaScript and user interactions. Some of you may be thinking that JavaScript is way too far over your head right now, and that's fine. The last couple episodes were meant to just let you guys know about it and some of the powers it has in the web. In today's episode, we'll be taking a step back and focusing more on design. That way our website can stop looking like it came straight out of the early 90s. When you're getting started with designing websites, there's one major thing you have to keep in mind. Most of the web is being run on mobile devices. You may have noticed how some websites keep the same layout and you have to zoom in on your phone, but that's not always the case. Most of the time now, for any modern website, you'll normally have a couple different looks for the website depending on the device you're using and what screen size it has. You can handle these changes manually with what is called a media query in CSS, but since those are a bit advanced and confusing, we're going to be focusing on using a popular library called Bootstrap. If you're interested in learning about media queries and you're up for the challenge, I'll have more information in the description down below that you can go and check out. You may have noticed that I've swapped editors for this episode. Right now I'm using codesandbox.io, which has the full functionality of Visual Studio Code in the browser, and it also has a live preview of our code on the right hand side. A link to the site will be linked down below if you wish to use it. Otherwise, let's get started. I've gone ahead and removed most of the index.html file and stripped out the content we had in previous episodes, since we'll be replacing it with Bootstrap elements here in a minute. Pause for a second if you need to copy down what's on the screen, and when you're ready, click the link in the description that leads to the introduction page of the Bootstrap documentation. I'm going to go ahead and copy the link and script elements on that page and paste them in the appropriate section of the document. Remember, links go in the head and scripts go at the end of your body file. After you copy and paste the first few instructions, we just need to add a couple meta tags to tell our browser how to behave on different devices. The specifics of what the meta tags are doing isn't really important. All you need to know is that we're preparing the browser to expect a site that's scaled to the device width. You may have noticed the CSS and scripts I copied over from the Bootstrap website have an href to a different website compared to ours, which is loading a local file. That's another way of loading a file from a different website or domain, and it's useful when using third-party tools such as Bootstrap. For now, I'm just going to create a very simple landing page with a navigation bar at the top, and the rest of the screen will be split into 3 sections or 3 columns. To do that, let's create a wrapping container by creating a div element and giving it a class of container-fluid. Container fluid is a responsive element that responds to the size of the window changing, which also allows for different layout from mobile to desktop. Inside our container is always another div with a class of row. Even if you don't have multiple rows, you still want to use at least one. Otherwise, you may run into some issues with the CSS not working as you expect. In this case, we're going to create 2 rows, one for our navigation bar, and the other for the content we'd like to put on the page. Go under the first row you created, and we'll use a new HTML element, the nav element. Our nav element will have 4 classes: navbar, navbar-dark, bg-dark, and col, which are separated with spaces. Those are all classes provided by Bootstrap and allow for powerful fast editing, so you can easily test out new styles for your page without having to worry about each individual line of CSS. Next, add a child element to the nav, which will be a new div element with the class of navbar-brand. Navbar brand is where you'd have the site's name, or if you're doing contract work, the company's name. Save it, and let's take a look at the changes. We haven't actually added anything that responds to a change in screen size yet, so if we change the size of the window by dragging here, nothing will happen. However, if we go into the second row we created, we can change that. create a new div and we'll add 4 classes. COL, which is short for column, is the first, and the others are just to tell the CSS when to change what it looks like. They are col-small or SM-12, col-medium or MD-6, and col-large or LG-4. Bootstrap divides the width into 12 parts no matter what width the screen is at, and we use that by saying on screens that are small, take up the full 12 parts. On a medium-sized device, say a tablet, take up 6 or half the width. And finally, on a large screen, take up only 4 parts, or 1/3 the width. Let's put some content inside of this div by typing in lorem, that's L-O-R-E-M, and pressing tab. This uses what's called an emit shortcut and will generate some filler text for us to use. Duplicate the div element we just made 2 more times. This will make up those 3 columns I talked about at the start of the video, except not exactly. See, not all devices can fit 3 rows of content on them. For instance, on a phone, it makes sense to stack the rows on top of each other instead of side by side. If you save, reload, and change the size of the page now, you can see as it gets smaller, the content changes by either having 3 columns at max width, then 2, and then 1. That's it for today. To wrap up what we did, we added a CSS framework called Bootstrap to the site to help us design for multiple different screen sizes. We also created a simple layout to help show how the row and column structure of Bootstrap is supposed to be used. If you want to see some awesome designs, head on over to the Get Bootstrap website and you can find tons of useful examples with source code so you can see exactly what's going on. A link to that site will also be down in the description. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay tuned for more, and don't forget to join our community by subscribing or join the Discord down below. And until the next episode, keep learning, keep coding. New tutorials come out 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday and Wednesday, with devlogs same time on Friday.